A storm forces 10 strangers into a motel where one of them is secretly a killer. The film begins by showing a man named Dr. Malik listening to an interrogation recording of a death row inmate named Malcolm. In the recording, Malcolm is questioned about his past, including when he was a child, abused and abandoned by his mother at a motel. He is also asked about the murders he previously committed in an apartment. However, Malcolm's answers sound unclear and often do not make sense. He is scheduled to be brought to a final hearing where his fate will be decided. The scene then shifts to a motel located along a remote highway. A man named Larry, the motel owner, is seen casually watching TV when a guest suddenly arrives. The guest is George, who brings his wife in a severely injured and unconscious condition. It is later revealed that earlier, George was traveling with his wife Alice and their young son Timmy. During the trip, their car tire suddenly bursts after running over a high-heel shoe belonging to a woman named Paris, which had fallen onto the road sometime before they passed through.
Vibration. Turn into
Timothy? Okay, honey?
show!
All my life, I'm a dream of the day. When I come up most, the next one done.
This forces George to change the tire despite the heavy storm. While George is fixing the tire, Alice is outside the car helping him. However, while she is joking around with Timmy, Alice is suddenly hit by a passing car, causing her to be thrown and left unconscious. The car that hits Alice is driven by a man named Ed, who at the time is escorting an actress named Caroline. The accident happens because Caroline asks Ed to take the battery from her bag, causing his attention to shift away from the road. Losing focus while driving, Ed accidentally hits Alice.
They had me at a Ramada. I have walked off the set, okay? I think I have a spare battery in the Louis Vuitton duffel.
I don't see anything, Mrs. Anna, you sure?
Just use your fucking eyes!
Jesus!
No.
Oh my God! Alice, what have you done?
Taking responsibility, Ed immediately gets out of the car and tries to help her by pressing her wound with a towel to stop the bleeding. Meanwhile, George is still in shock after seeing his wife lying on the road. He tries to call an ambulance, but Caroline refuses to lend her phone. In a state of panic, Ed breaks the car window to take the phone, only to find that it is dead and cannot be used. Because of the heavy storm, Ed decides to take them to the nearest building, which is the motel from earlier. They initially plan to use the phone there to contact a hospital, but there is no signal due to the bad weather. Larry then suggests that they should take Alice directly to the emergency, which is about 48 kilometers away. Hearing this, Ed decides to leave to find help and call an ambulance, while Caroline is forced to stay and spend the night at the motel.
Hey, what's up, lady?
I'm not getting a line. It happens in the rain. St. Jude's has 24-hour emergency.
The phone doesn't work.
Just keep pressure on the wound. You sit here, okay? I'll be back with an ambulance.
I'm not staying here. Are you out of your mind?
Sorry, lady.
What are you doing? I understand the bleeding person has a medical condition.
Elsewhere, Paris cannot continue her journey because the road ahead is flooded. She decides to turn back, but her car suddenly breaks down after running out of fuel. Fortunately, she later meets Ed and asks for a ride. Paris realizes that Ed intends to drive through a flooded road. Even though she warns him that the road is impassable, Ed insists on pushing forward. As a result, their car gets stuck and can no longer move. Not long after, another car passes by and they quickly stop it. The driver turns out to be a young couple named Ginny and Lou. Ed tries to borrow their phone, but they do not have one. Ginny and Lou explain that the road in the opposite direction is also blocked by flooding, and even worse than the one ahead. With no other option, and the motel being the only safe place nearby, they decide to return there together. Before leaving his car, Ed takes his gun with him as a precaution.
I tried to tell you.
Hey! Hey, stop! They need you to give me a lift in the other direction.
Flooded that way too.
You have a cell phone? We don't have a cell phone!
Ginny, pop the trunk. Come in.
Upon arriving at the motel, Larry tells Ed that Alice is in room number 4. When Larry sees Paris, he immediately realizes that she is a prostitute and begins to show his dislike toward her because of her profession. Meanwhile, Ed informs George that all roads are completely blocked due to the flooding. He also feels deeply concerned after seeing Alice still unconscious. Because her bleeding is severe and there is a deep wound on her neck, Ed decides to stitch the wound using whatever equipment is available. After Paris, Ginny, and Lou get their rooms, Ginny suddenly feels an unusual cold presence as if something bad is about to happen. Not long after, a police officer named Rhodes arrives, bringing a prisoner named Robert. He is forced to stay at the motel because all access roads are cut off by the flood. Ed immediately asks Rhodes to contact an ambulance, but Rhodes explains that his radio signal has not been working for the past hour. Ed then asks him to check on Alice later, hoping Rhodes might have another opinion about her condition after the accident.
Did you feel that?
Feel what?
Cold.
Officer Rhodes, transporting a prisoner here.
Hey, you got a radio in that car?
442 requesting medical.
Nothing. Like I said, it's been like this for the past hour. Take a look at the lady. I could use a second opinion.
Using limited tools, Ed successfully stitches Alice's wound. On the other hand, Ed becomes worried about Timmy, since the boy has not spoken at all since his mother's accident. However, George explains that Timmy has always been quiet, not because of the incident, but since his biological father left them 2 years ago. It is then revealed that George is actually his stepfather. After securing Robert inside a motel room and handcuffing him to prevent him from escaping, Rhodes then goes to check on Alice's condition. Seeing that her condition is starting to stabilize, Rhodes leaves the room and runs into Paris. There, he seems captivated by her beauty, and they briefly talk before returning to their respective rooms. After that, the scene reveals that each person at the motel is hiding their own secrets. Rhodes's clothes show signs of a gunshot and bloodstains. Robert is secretly trying to escape. Lou appears to have a troubled relationship with his wife Ginny. Paris is hiding a large amount of money in her suitcase. Larry is seen concealing files and a photograph of someone in his desk drawer. And Ed is quietly taking certain medications. That night, Caroline, who is known to be dramatic and arrogant, needs a phone signal to handle her work. When she notices a weak signal, she decides to step outside to find a better one. Using a shower curtain as protection from the rain, Caroline walks through the heavy storm in search of signal. However, she begins to feel as if someone is following her, and sure enough, something terrible soon happens to her.
I can't work, I can't perform, I can't shine. I'm not. Goddamn desert wasteland. Just hit it.
On the other side, Ed wakes up from his sleep after hearing Caroline's scream. When he checks outside, he only finds Caroline's jewelry scattered around the motel area. Sensing that something is wrong, Ed follows the trail to the laundry room. When he opens one of the washing machines, he is shocked to find Caroline's severed head inside. Not long after, Larry and Rhodes also arrive after hearing the earlier scream. While examining the machine, Rhodes finds a room key labeled number 10, which turns out to be his own room key. This discovery makes them begin to suspect the prisoner, Robert, and their suspicion grows stronger when they realize that Robert has already escaped. The scene then shifts to a late-night meeting attended by several people. Present in the room are Judge Taylor and his team, a defense attorney, and Dr. Malik. They are discussing a death row inmate who is scheduled to be executed within 24 hours. The defense attorney requests that Judge Taylor wait for the inmate to arrive so he can demonstrate the mental condition the client is suffering from as part of the consideration. However, Judge Taylor refuses and shows his impatience. He insists that the case be explained immediately without waiting any longer, given how late it already is.
Son of a bitch. Sir, with due respect, we should wait till my client arrives in order to demonstrate his mental state.
You think I got time for bullshit? It pisses me off. Do you know what time it is?
Yes, sir.
Back at the motel, panic begins to spread among the remaining people after Caroline is murdered and her body cannot be found, while Robert has also escaped. The situation becomes even more dangerous as Robert is known to be a serial killer. Among them, Ginny appears to be the most panicked and unable to control herself. Ed then reveals that he used to work as a police officer, and together with Rhodes and Larry, he decides to search for Robert. They check every room amid the heavy storm and the tense silence of the night, but find no trace of him. Inside the room, George asks his son Timmy to stay in his mother's room to keep him calm. Meanwhile, Ginny continues to panic, which only makes Lou more irritated. Lou follows Ginny back to their room and an argument breaks out between them. Ginny insists on leaving the place, but Lou stops her because all the roads are flooded. It is then revealed that they just got married a few hours earlier because Ginny claimed she was pregnant. However, in that moment, Ginny finally admits that the pregnancy was a lie. She did it after hearing that Lou had been seen with another woman, as she wanted to make sure he would stay with her. After confessing everything, Ginny breaks down crying in the bathroom, while Lou becomes even more frustrated with what he sees as her childish behavior. Lou tries to convince her that the rumor is not true, but Ginny refuses to believe him and does not open the door. In his anger, Lou keeps banging on the bathroom door and shouting until he suddenly stops. The room falls completely silent. Feeling confused, Ginny finally opens the door but instead sees a shadowy figure holding a knife, causing her to immediately shut the door again and escape through the bathroom window.
There is no place else to go. We are not leaving, you understand me?
I'm not pregnant! Allison saw you with that fucking girl.
Open this goddamn door, Jenny! Jenny, God, what are we, like 15? Allison is a stupid... Open the damn door, Jenny!
Go away!
Jenny, open this damn door!
Lou, please stop!
Ed, Rhodes, and Larry immediately enter the room and find that Lou has already been stabbed to death. Meanwhile, Robert is seen running far from the motel and entering a warehouse. However, something strange happens when he looks out the window, as the warehouse turns out to be right next to the motel. He becomes confused because he believes he has run far away, yet somehow ends up back near the motel. Unfortunately, Rhodes notices his presence, chases him down, and manages to capture him. Robert is then tied up inside the warehouse so he cannot escape again, and Larry is assigned to guard him there. Inside the warehouse, Larry appears nervous while standing near a refrigerator. Seeing this, Robert starts provoking him, asking what he is hiding inside the fridge. Inside the room, Alice finally regains consciousness and is immediately cared for by George and Timmy. Meanwhile, Paris leaves Ginny for a moment to retrieve her belongings from her room. She's actually securing her money, and when she turns around, Ed is already inside the room. They then head to Lou's room to document the scene as evidence. It is revealed that Ed used to work as a police officer, but he took a leave of absence after failing to save a girl who committed suicide. Since that incident, Ed has been haunted by guilt, often suffering from headaches and relying on medication to cope with his trauma. While examining the scene, Ed notices something on Lou's body, a room key labeled number 9. Not long after, they see Larry outside his office taking a toolbox. Ed questions him since he is supposed to be guarding Robert, and Larry nervously replies that he just came to grab something. However, when Rhodes enters the warehouse, he finds Robert already dead in a gruesome condition.
This is on the kid. Larry, what are you doing? Come over here.
Just want to get something.
We told you to stand here and watch the guy.
Oh my fucking God, get it!
This discovery immediately makes Rhodes and Ed suspect Larry, especially because of his earlier suspicious behavior. Even so, Larry insists that he did not kill Robert and claims he would never do something that cruel. The suspicion grows stronger when they find a room key labeled number 8 near Robert's body, suggesting that the killer has access to spare keys. Larry becomes even more cornered when it is revealed that he took Caroline's wallet after her death. He admits to taking it, but insists that it does not mean he killed Robert. Feeling threatened by the accusations, Larry suddenly pulls a knife on Paris. In the tense situation, the secret he has been hiding in the refrigerator is accidentally revealed. Panic escalates, and Larry eventually decides to flee. In his panic, Larry drives his car recklessly and nearly hits Timmy. Fortunately, Timmy is saved by George, but George sacrifices himself and is fatally struck by the car.
Shit! What's going on out here?
The scene then shifts back to the meeting room. The defense attorney explains that the inmate, his client, has been diagnosed with a mental disorder by a psychiatrist named Dr. Malik. Even until now, the client does not believe that he committed the crimes he is accused of. The man also has a diary in which the writing style, patterns, and point of view constantly change, indicating that he has more than one personality. Dr. Malik then explains his patient's condition, confirming that the client suffers from dissociative identity disorder and that it is extremely difficult to treat with conventional methods. Not long after, the patient they have been discussing finally arrives in the room. Back at the motel, Larry finally reveals the identity of the body he has been hiding in the refrigerator. He explains that about a month earlier, when his car ran out of fuel, he stopped at the motel and found the owner already dead. Not long after, someone came looking for a room, and without thinking much, Larry decided to take over the role of the motel owner by handing out room keys to the guests. Even though he knew it was wrong, he continued doing it because he needed money, eventually keeping the owner's body hidden in the refrigerator so no one would find out. However, Larry insists that he did not kill Robert, Caroline, or anyone else. Rhodes refuses to believe him and keeps pressuring him with questions, while Timmy, who has just lost his father, can only cry amid the chaos. Even so, some of them begin to feel that Larry might not be the killer, except for Rhodes, who remains convinced that he is. Meanwhile, Ginny starts to suspect that what they are experiencing might be connected to something supernatural. She recalls a brochure mentioning a burial site near the motel where many Native Americans died about 100 years ago. However, Rhodes dismisses the idea and refuses to believe in anything supernatural. To prevent the situation from getting worse, he decides that everyone must stay inside the room and forbids anyone from leaving until morning. They all eventually gather and wait together in one room. At one point, Timmy is seen getting up from the bed and walking into Alice's room, then returning a short while later. After that, Ginny mentions a movie about 10 people who go to an island and die one by one, only to later realize that they are all connected, suggesting that they might be experiencing something similar. Paris then asks about each of their destinations, and it turns out that they are all different, with no clear connection between them. Not long after, Rhodes, who is sitting near Alice's room, realizes that Alice has died from her injuries. Timmy cries as he sees his mother gone. Strangely, they find a room key labeled number 6 under Alice's bed. This confuses Ed even more since Alice's death should have been caused by the accident. They had all been together in the same room, so it makes no sense who could have placed the key there. They then check George's body and once again find another key, this time room number 7. These events begin to feel increasingly irrational, especially since George's death was clearly the result of an accident they all witnessed. Realizing the situation is becoming more dangerous, Ed tells Paris, Ginny, and Timmy to leave the motel for their safety. He knows the roads are still flooded, but at least they can keep moving until morning. Rhodes refuses this plan because he believes the killer is among them, but Ed insists on sending them away. However, as Ginny and Timmy head to the car, it suddenly explodes without warning.
That's not possible!
Take a car and get out of here. And drive till dawn on that. Just keep moving. Get the kid and go. Hey, where'd they go? Get back. Where'd they go? They're not leaving.
After the fire is extinguished, they are shocked to find that Ginny and Timmy's bodies are missing from the car. Not only that, the bodies of the others who had died earlier have also suddenly disappeared without a single trace. Now, only 4 people remain. Paris begins to lose hope and is overwhelmed with fear, as she only wants to go home and does not want to die there. In the midst of the confusion, they start to notice another strange pattern. It turns out that all of them share the same birth date, May 10th. In addition, Ed realizes that each of their last names is taken from the names of U.S. states.
I just want to go home! I'm turning 30 next week!
It's my birthday next week, the 10th.
Me too.
Me too.
Yeah. May fucking 10th. Ginny, Luciana, May 10th. Caroline, Suzanne, May 10th. Alice York, May 10th.
Rhodes, Rhode Island. Larry, Washington. George, York. Paris, Nevada. Caroline, Carolina. Virginia, Louisiana. Virginia, Louisiana. Ed, Dakota.
All of these anomalies make Ed increasingly confused, and he begins to suffer from a severe headache until he suddenly hears the voice of Dr. Malik. In an instant, Ed seems to be transported into a meeting room where Dr. Malik is present. Dr. Malik realizes that he is speaking with Ed and begins asking what has happened. Ed explains that he was just at a motel where a series of horrific events took place. At Dr. Malik's request, Ed recounts everything, from the storm to the 10 people trapped at the motel to their deaths one by one, followed by the mysterious disappearance of their bodies. The judge, the lawyer, and the detective in the room appear confused by Ed's explanation. Dr. Malik then shows a photograph and asks whether Ed knows a man named Malcolm, but Ed says he does not. Dr. Malik explains that Malcolm is a man who was arrested 4 years ago for brutally murdering 6 people in an apartment. He also reveals that Malcolm suffered severe childhood trauma, which caused him to unconsciously create multiple identities within himself, known as multiple dissociative identity disorder. This explanation only confuses Ed further, making him question why Dr. Malik is telling him all of this. Eventually, Dr. Malik reveals the truth that Ed is actually one of Malcolm's personalities. To prove it, he gives Ed a mirror, and when Ed looks into it, he does not see his own face, but Malcolm's.
Who am I speaking to right now? Edward? Doc. Edward, where have you been? All right, I was driving this actress. There was a storm at the motel. We got stuck. People started dying, and then their bodies, they disappeared. Do you recognize this man? No. Edward, listen to me. That man, Edward, is Malcolm Rivers. He was arrested 4 years ago and convicted of the murder. He developed multiple personality syndrome, creating dissociated identities. Why are you telling me this? Because you, Edward, are one of his personalities. Edward, that is your face.
What the fuck did you do? Jesus Christ! Where is my face?
You were all created by Malcolm as a child. Everyone shared the same birthday. Everyone named after a state. I know this is difficult to accept.
Dr. Malik then explains that Malcolm is undergoing a special therapy that allows his 10 personalities to meet at the same time, manifested through the event of the 10 people gathering at the motel. The purpose of this therapy is to reduce the number of identities within Malcolm, because one of them is a dangerous killer who has already murdered 6 innocent people. Dr. Malik asks Ed to identify which personality is the killer and stop him. If he fails, or if the killer identity survives, the judge will proceed with Malcolm's execution. Therefore, Ed must find out who the real killer is before it is too late. Back at the motel, Rhodes and Larry are trying to fix the power outage, while Paris helps search for a flashlight in Rhodes' car. There, Paris finds a set of documents that reveal Rhodes is actually a prisoner. The scene then shifts to a flashback, showing Robert and Rhodes on their way to prison. It is revealed that Rhodes hid a knife in his sock and used it to kill the police officer escorting them through a small gap in the seat. After that, he placed the officer's body in the trunk and put on his uniform. Realizing this, Paris quickly informs Larry and asks him to check the trunk. However, Rhodes catches them in the act. He immediately threatens Paris and forces her to hand over the vehicle keys so he can escape. Larry manages to strike Rhodes, but he does not lose consciousness and instead shoots Larry. Paris then runs away while being chased by Rhodes. In the middle of the chaos, Ed becomes convinced that Rhodes is the killer identity they have been searching for. He does not care about his own safety as long as Rhodes can be stopped. The two engage in a shootout, and despite being shot, Ed continues to fight and eventually manages to shoot Rhodes multiple times until he dies.
We gotta get out of here.
Paris, let's go. Stay here.
Throw me the keys to the truck, Ed.
Ed, why won't you let me help you? You gotta hold on, okay? Tell me when you stop.
I saw you in an orange grove.
Paris tries to save Ed, but his condition is too severe and he cannot be saved. The next morning, Paris is seen leaving the motel and heading back to her hometown. After everything that has happened, only one identity remains within Malcolm, which is Paris. In the real world, the debate between the judge, the detective, the doctor, and the lawyer continues until morning. Dr. Malik, along with the defense attorney, argues that while Malcolm physically committed the murders, the personality within him is not a killer. They also witnessed throughout the night that 9 of Malcolm's identities have been eliminated, including the one believed to be the murderer. Based on this, Dr. Malik requests that Malcolm's execution be canceled and replaced with treatment in a psychiatric hospital. After considering all the facts, the judge ultimately decides to postpone Malcolm's execution and orders that he be transferred to a mental institution under Dr. Malik's supervision. On the way to the mental hospital, Malcolm's mind is still within the identity of Paris. As she has always dreamed, Paris imagines that she has bought a large orange grove and will spend her time gardening there. However, while digging the soil, a shocking truth is revealed that the killer identity within Malcolm is actually Timmy. All this time, he has been the one secretly eliminating the other identities one by one, including the car explosion incident, which he staged to make it seem as if he had died. Timmy becomes the psychopathic personality because he represents Malcolm's deepest childhood trauma, especially when he was abandoned and abused by his mother at the motel. The emotional wounds that never healed turned into anger and a loss of empathy, forming Timmy as the identity that carries all of Malcolm's darkest sides. Compared to the other personalities, Timmy holds the most extreme emotions, making him the coldest and most dangerous. Timmy rarely speaks because he represents the most hidden part of Malcolm's mind. By staying silent, he avoids drawing attention and is able to conceal his identity as the most dangerous personality. His silence makes him appear weak, when in reality, it is the most effective way to hide the fact that he is the psychopathic identity. In the real world, Dr. Malik hears Malcolm talking to himself in a frightened tone. He then opens the cell to calm him down, right at the moment when the Paris identity shifts into Timmy, indicating that Timmy has eliminated Paris. Timmy then takes full control of Malcolm's body and brutally kills Dr. Malik. As a result, Timmy, now in control, is able to escape and has the potential to kill again. In essence, the gathering of the 10 people at the motel exists only inside Malcolm's mind, and all of them are representations of his personalities. The purpose of the special treatment is to reduce the number of identities, including eliminating the dangerous one. However, the killer personality, represented by Timmy, turns out to be far more cunning and manages to deceive the other identities, even Dr. Malik. In the end, the plan fails because Timmy survives and takes complete control, and the story comes to an end.